Lee Cronin made Evil Dead, and now he just can't stop making Evil Dead movies. And now we got Evil Dead Mummy, Evil Dead Baby. I don't know what other Evil Deads he's going to make, but they're coming one after another. What is cracking, everybody, and welcome to another episode of 20,000 Films. I'm your director tonight, Ernell Pearson, alongside nobody. Once again, I am here, and we are here to talk about some lovely, lovely movie and TV show stuff. And before we do, a little bit of updating for you guys. So first and foremost, obviously, we haven't been around a whole lot with this podcast lately. Me and Devin are trying to work out some scheduling stuff. Things have been wild for us. It's been really, really weird. We're getting used to Devin having a new job, me having a new job, our schedules kind of intertwining and not intertwining in certain ways. We're still getting it figured out. So whenever Devin cannot be available to be here, I shall go ahead and give you my soliloquy. Anyways, I'll be handling an episode by myself and updating you guys as the conversations kind of come along. So with that said, we've got lots of new stuff over here at Good Kraken. You can find all those episodes over at youtube.com/Good Kraken Show, just as per usual. Songs from the Abyss is going to be back soon, our D&D podcast. We got our video game podcast, Death Ratio, all the wonderful, wonderful, wonderful things that we have to offer. You guys can catch over there. Do not miss that. In the meantime, let us go ahead and get into some fun stuff. But before we do, this is 20,000 Films Under the Sea, your choice for all the nerdy pop media news, reviews, and discussions that you want each and every week. If you want to keep the lights on and cameras rolling, you can head on over to patreon.com/GoodKrakenPods, where you can submit questions and topics to our shows, get exclusive content, and have early access to episodes like this one before they go live on podcasts and or video services, wherever you like to watch or listen. But if you've emptied your pockets for the latest and greatest in entertainment, that is cool with us. You can watch and join the GK community on our Discord channel by clicking the link down here in our description section below in order to get updates when new episodes go live everywhere. First and foremost, we need to talk a little bit about some stuff that's coming up, and we do that in our section called The Monologue.
I've seen things you people wouldn't believe.
For The Monologue, we talk a little bit about some movies and TV shows that are coming out from the day that we are recording this. Today is going to be Friday, April 17th, over to next Friday, which is going to be April 24th. So to start out now, Friday, April 17th, Lee Cronin's The Mummy. Obviously, if you're here, you know that. A movie called Normal that is coming out in theaters. And then we have Mother Mary coming out. That is another A24 horror film that is looking delectable, just delightful. Roommates coming out on Netflix as of today. That is Adam Sandler's daughter coming out in a fun little college level film. That looks great. Dust Bunny finally hit HBO Max as well. So excited to finally watch that. And then Sunday, April 19th, we have season 4 of From coming to MGM Plus. Garrick has been telling me to watch this for a long time now. I did not realize that this show actually, apparently, according to all sources, kicks a lot of ass. So I might actually have to go out and give that a shot. Monday, April 20th, 420, that is right. Cheech and Chong's last movie drops on Paramount Plus. You can watch that over there as well, too. I'm sure that is going to be a great movie for the occasion, if you will. And then Tuesday, April 21st, we have Unchosen Season 1 officially drops on Netflix. That is a show of some weird, like, neo Christian Amish group that have this guy who breaks out of prison just stumbles across their town, and this woman is like trying to like keep him safe or something like that. It looks really interesting. And then Thursday, April 23rd, Stranger Things Tales from 85 drops on Netflix. That is the new Stranger Things animated show that's going to be coming out. Who knows? You know what I mean? We'll see how that goes. And then next Friday, we have the Michael Jackson biopic Michael dropping in theaters. Sure. And then a movie called Apex coming to Netflix. I believe that is Charlize Theron. I believe. Woman is running away from somebody while going on a hike in like the jungle or something like that. That looked. Taron Egerton is the bad guy in that, I believe. Looks super interesting. Movie called Fuse is dropping in theaters next Friday as well. I don't think I remember all of the cast in that movie right away, but it looks like the pretty, routine cop versus bad guy kind of movie. Desert Warrior comes out next Friday as well. I'll be honest, I don't really know anything about this movie. I saw some ads for it, and I was like, wow, that does not look like a movie I'm really interested in. But I guess we'll see how that goes too. The Marty Supreme drops on HBO Max. That is a award-winning film, so we'll definitely be seeing that. I'll finally get an opportunity to watch that bad boy. And then lastly, a new animated children's show, maybe kids show, I would probably say. My Brother the Minotaur drops on Apple TV. Now, without any further ado, we're going to go ahead and get into the important stuff, the reason why you are here. Today, we're talking about Lee Cronin's The Mummy. And I have a lot of thoughts. I am a huge horror movie fan. I'm sure you guys have heard me talk about that before. And I was going into this film being very, very hesitant because seeing Lee Cronin's name on it, James Wan's name on it as executive producer, one of the executive producers, and Blumhouse attached to this movie as well. All of these names pulled up on this. I did not really know how to feel about this movie, to be honest with you. A little bit of backstory here. The movie is about this family that lives in Egypt, and they have a daughter and a son named Katie and Sebastian. And these kids are all of maybe but 8 to 10 years old at this point. Unfortunately, their daughter Katie gets kidnapped and never, ever, ever really actually found. The police in Egypt start to be suspicious of the mom and dad, believing that they are the ones that actually kidnapped their daughter. And 8 years later, which is where a big chunk of this movie lands, somehow, some way, their daughter is actually found. And they go to take their daughter home, and she is not what they thought she was going to be. And then movie, bam, bam, boom, boom. You know what I'm saying? I had a lot of roller coaster feelings about this movie. In one end, I feel like this movie was a lot better than I actually thought it was going to be. And I mean that in the sense of like, this movie I thought, to be honest with you, this movie was going to be a heaping pile of dog shit, to be completely honest. Like, regardless of like the names, I had a lot of feelings. I was like, listen, this movie is either going to be pretty decent or it's just going to be a massive pile of crap. And thankfully, it is not a massive pile of crap. I'm happy to report to you. But I do feel that this movie has some things to work on. So let's start with the good stuff. The story is actually a lot more intricate and dynamic than I actually thought it was going to be, as I said earlier. I think that they did a good job of making this movie utilize some cool, like, little horror trope stuff here and there to really kind of bolster this as a horror movie that most people, I'm sure, didn't think that this movie was actually going to be. This movie wasn't really marketed to be as crazy as you could say this movie actually ended up turning out to be. There is a lot of horror movie tropes in this, both good and bad. There's some moments that you're kind of like, okay, wow, like that was a lot. Holy shit. But then there's some moments where I couldn't help but think, wow, there isn't an original bone in this movie's body. That kills me to say, because there are some actually really, really awesome things in this. The acting to start out is a lot of fun. Jack Rayner and Lia Costa playing mom and dad in this film, I think, are probably actually the weakest characters in this film. Not to say that they were necessarily bad, but like, I mean, compared to these kids that are needing to actually like act, they did their job. They did fine, I suppose. But I mean, really, all of the graciousness and props here really goes to Natalie Grace, who plays as Katie, the daughter that was kidnapped, and we now see as the main sort of antagonist of this film. Anytime that we get someone that is playing this creepy, messed up, fucked up role of like the antagonist of a horror movie like this, I already give them really, really a lot of props when they are able to pull that role off and make it believable, make it gross and creepy looking. But Natalie Grace specifically, as a kid, does outstanding in this role. All of her little nuances and like the chattering of her teeth and these uncomfortable, weird, eerie positions that she's like put in. The way that she like even speaks when she does, like there's so many different moments where any other child actor, I guess could say, would have not really blessed this role in the way that she was able to pull it off. And I don't know if it's necessarily just her or if like there was some kind of coaching involved. The direction with her was all together, all of it accumulated, made for this really, really cool, fun job when acting in this antagonistic role. Unfortunately, it is not really bolstered up by a big cast that did much more than just react to her outstanding acting in this movie. The rest of the characters just seem to just fill the void a little bit, and that was kind of a bummer to be able to see, especially because of how good Natalie Grace actually is in this role. I would have hoped that everybody else could have at least sort of held a candle to her, to what she had going on, but unfortunately, it kind of just sort of fell to the wayside for me, where most of these characters didn't really feel important in the way that I needed them to feel across from this antagonist. Now, with that said, Lee Cronin really walked in this movie wanting to seemingly make another Evil Dead movie. I don't know what that is. I don't know if he's just like trying to double down on this style or something. This movie is incredibly violent. And I mean that, get my lights turned off. I mean that in a sense of this movie is visceral. When I say Evil Dead, think about a la Evil Dead 2013 and up. Gritty and gross, and like I said earlier, visceral and just so gory and violent. And I love stuff like that, but I feel like this movie's violence and stuff is really, really cool for a few parts. And then there's some other parts where it just kind of felt like they were trying to just be gross and gritty for the sake of being gross and gritty. And it started to pull me out of things a little bit. Whereas in Evil Dead 2013, which is one of my favorite horror movies of all time, all of it felt purposeful and it worked for like what that movie was. It's even more than just the violence. The antagonist themselves feels like an antagonist in Evil Dead. Man, how do I even say this? I think the biggest bummer part about this movie really is that this movie is called The Mummy and really has like very little to do with actual like traditional Egyptian mummies. And like this antagonist is more a possessed person than they are a mummy. There are like deadites in this movie, and they're not called that. They're not labeled as that. The way that their like makeup is, the effects makeup, the way that they act, like they're like generally like what they're doing, how things play out in this movie, it's all very Evil Dead. And this whole movie just feels like this like project that like Lee Cronin was like, oh, I want to keep making Evil Dead movies, but it just feels like he was just wanting so badly to do another Evil Dead that was not under the Evil Dead franchise, and this is kind of what came of it. To kind of bounce back though, there is some really, really cool camera stuff that this movie does. The set pieces are actually really, really cool. And a lot of the set design and sort of like props and like effects makeup and all the things involved to like make the movie come to life all look really, really good. There's a world where this movie could have been so good, but it kind of just lost itself in the sauce a little bit. I don't know why this movie was called The Mummy, to be honest with you. It like had so minimal to do with mummies and like everything that we want mummies to be. And I remember even telling my partner when we got out of the movie that I kind of just wish they did more like mummy stuff in this. Like the most that they even do is that there's like a scorpion in like one part of this movie. Like our mummy in this doesn't even really do anything that's like mummy like not even like Brendan Fraser's Mummy, let alone like Mummies Alive from back in the day, the old animated show. Like there's like nothing about this mummy does anything that's like Egyptian, I guess you could say, and like the sense of fantasy or horror or anything like that. And I don't know if that's necessarily like this movie's fault or if it's like we've been set up with a expectation what a horror villain looks like from a mummy perspective with The Mummy and that franchise that was done so long ago. I really thought that like they could have done some super sick stuff if they would have doubled down and really leaned into this being a sort of Egyptian lore horror thing that they only really just kind of like dipped their toes in momentarily. Generally speaking though, Natalie Grace did an awesome job. This movie looks great because Blumhouse just does a really good job of making their movies look awesome. But generally speaking, I feel like this movie lacked a gusto that we need in 2026 when movies like Bring Her Back are coming out as horror films that are crazy memorable, and we have studios like A24 that are coming out with horror movies that are some of the most magnificent horror films we've ever had in history. This just kind of feels like it falls to the wayside and just doesn't seem to want to stand on its own 2 feet in comparison to those films, let alone other horror movies that were even lined up for and scheduled to have this year. I don't necessarily think this is the worst movie ever, though, and I want to make sure that that's clear and apparent, too. So if we had to give this movie the good old classic good Kraken rating, I'm probably gonna have to give this movie a 5 out of 10. I don't think that this movie gives and offers enough for it to be any higher than a 5, but I don't necessarily think the movie is bad enough to be less than a 5. This movie is really just incredibly mid. It has fun moments. There's a couple parts that me and my partner were actively laughing at, like in the theater, that weren't necessarily like laughy because they were like funny, let alone laughy because they were bad. They were just like so absurd that we just like couldn't help ourselves. And some moments that I was like, whoa, that was fucking crazy. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe wait until this movie comes out on a streaming, or you can rent it for like $5 or something like that. Maybe this movie might be worth seeing then, but I really don't think this movie is worth seeing for the $15 to $25 price tag that you can for a movie theater experience, let alone it doesn't really give anything to justify the movie theater experience either. So I would say give this away. 5 out of 10, that's where we're going to be. I think that is good enough for all of you guys at home. And if you liked what you saw, please give us a subscription. This is on YouTube. We'd love to see you guys back. Please comment in the comments below how you want these episodes to be looking from now on. If you like these sort of solo 1v1 episodes, or if you like it better when me and Devin are here. We would love to hear from you. Also, please let us know too. We are going to be moving 20,000 Films onto social media platforms here soon. So please keep a lookout for that, but also let us know what platforms you want us to be on, because I think that'll be a good place for us to be at, and it'd be lovely to hear from all of you. So anyways, guys, thank you, and until next time, be good to each other.